Role Campaign 3, it's getting a little wacky. Last night on Critical Role Campaign 3 episode 61, guest character Utkarsh Ambudkar killed an angel. Hello everyone, welcome back to Fraud on the Telly. In today's video, we're going to be breaking down everything that happened in last night's episode of Critical Role, as Campaign 3 is getting a little wacky, weird, and wild with our new guest characters, Utkarsh Ambudkar, Emily Axford, and Amy Carrillo. As always, if you enjoyed the video, learned something new, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to check out our big Critical Role lore video over the founding that we released yesterday. And let's just get right into the episode, shall we? So where we last left off, we are currently with the other members of our party, of our split party, if they find themselves transported to the continent of Asilra after the fallout of the crazy Apogee Solstice shenanigans with one Ludinus the Lath. Our characters, Laudna, Orem, and Ashton, as well as our three guest characters, have found themselves in a tiny, quaint little town with a bit of an issue. You see, it seems like this town is currently being dominated and run by a temple of the Dawnfather that is collecting money and seems to be, well, suppressing any other type of religious faith, as in this community there is a large number of people that seem to worship elemental spirit type beings, essentially the children of the ancient primordials. Where we last left off in our story, combat had just broken out in this temple of the Dawnfather, as our group of cast of characters, as well with a host of townsfolk, are currently trying to dethrone and get rid of this oppressive temple of the Dawnfather. Now, this episode was like 5 hours long, and most of it was combat. Normally, I'm not the biggest combat fan in D&D 5e specifically. I find that it generally drags, and unless there's really big tension moments where it actually seems like people could die, a lot of time it feels like combat in D&D, it can just feel like there's not a lot of consequences, which ultimately is what creates buy-in for combat. This combat, on the other hand, was actually pretty fun. Though it was long, it was very entertaining and interesting, as things got crazy super fast as the fighting made its way inside this temple of the Dawnfather. Emily Axford's character summoning a demon of the abyss to fight alongside them, while the Flame Guide, a high-ranking member in the temple of the Dawnfather, summons a celestial angel. All of this battle taking place while there's a big mural on the wall depicting an ancient battle between the Dawnfather and Asmodeus, the Lord of the Nine Hells, while in front of us is a battle between a ancient demon and a ancient celestial. This is just like epic D&D high fantasy at its best, but things went really awry very quickly. It seemed like the plan at the very beginning was not to actually kill any of these temple guards or any of these people, but that seemed to change very quickly when all of a sudden people started dying, and guest character Utkarsh, his character Bordor, kills this celestial being, this angel, and ultimately they kill the Judicator, this kind of ancient warrior of Vasselheim. With the temple defeated, they reclaim wealth and redistribute it amongst the civilians and let some of these members of the Dawnfather's temple go, assumingly heading back to Vasselheim, where I believe that they probably will inform their high-ranking members of what transpired here in this small town and this strange group of individuals who somehow killed a divine celestial being. Now, all of this kind of loops into this bigger concept that has kind of been going on since Campaign 3 released its EXU Calamity, the kind of nature of the gods in Exandria. There's very little we actually know about the gods. We have a kind of perceived notion about them in Critical Role from what we've been told, especially when you consider the events of the Calamity. The splitting of the gods of Betrayer, Prime Deity, essentially makes it easy for us to be like, oh, these gods are good, these gods are bad. But it seems like it's a little more gray than that. A lot of people in the community are wondering what consequences will erupt from this, surely knowing Matt Mercer, there will be consequences for these actions sometime longer in the campaign, but ultimately it just kind of adds to this mystique. We have a lot of people in Campaign 3 that seem to sympathize with Ludinus and with Predathos, as they feel that they are oppressed by the gods, even the prime deities, who are generally viewed as good gods. It really doesn't seem like things are that black and white, but overall, I think we can assume that Ludinus is not a good guy. While the broader question of are his motives good or not, ultimately he himself is obviously an evil man. He's willing to murder and kill to reach his goal, hence why Aurum is really the only character that is pretty steadfast in trying to defeat lewdness, as he's lost people he's loved to this crazy wizard. So of course, even if there is a good argument that the gods should be banished or should leave this realm, this prime material world, Aurum's basically never going to get on board with helping or letting Lewdness's plans continue, as he's seen death, personal death, come from his hand. It's really interesting. I've been enjoying the direction the campaign has taken, as I am super curious about the nature of the gods, ancient lore in the founding, the calamity, the schism, all of that, as all of the information that we really know from Critical Role is from the prime deities and their worshippers. It's from the good guys. The winners write the history. We've heard a little bit from EXU Calamity from the other side with Asmodeus, but it's hard to distinguish between what is a lie and what is merely his point of view, but it makes for a very interesting story, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen in Critical Role Campaign 3 with this story. As well, there is the kind of general concern about Bordor, Utkarsh's character, something that I brought up in our last video, which we covered over last week's episode of Critical Role, as this character is very interesting. Ultimately, it seems like he's playing the character as really just a normal guy who happened to inherit magical powers, but a lot of people think that maybe there's something more to this character. There's a lot that he's not hiding. We really just don't know. You know me, I love to have a tinfoil hat theory on, so I'm watching this character extremely closely, analyzing every single step he makes and move he makes, and it is very interesting that his character, a kind of bumbling buffoon who is absolutely terrified of everything just an episode ago, killed a celestial being in this episode. It's kind of, well, it's a very interesting turn of events we will see, but ultimately, it's probably just a tinfoil hat theory, but we're going to keep an eye on this character. Once again, there's so many questions going on in Campaign 3, and very little answers, but tons of speculation, and I personally can't wait to see what's going to happen in the future. There's going to be major big lore reveals. I can't wait. I have a feeling that at least one god will most likely die in the course of Campaign 3, which would just be absolutely insane, and it would be very interesting to see if another mortal rose to take their place. As if one mortal could do it, we know that it is possible for another mortal to eventually, potentially, rise to godhood. So it would be really interesting to see just who it might be. Ultimately, though, this is just my opinion and my speculation, so feel free to let me know what your thoughts of this episode and the future of Campaign 3 in the comments down below. There's going to be so much crazy god lore, Perdothos lore that's going to be dropped on us over the next year, and I just can't wait for it. As always, guys, if you enjoyed the video, learned something new, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. As we mentioned, don't forget to check out our What is the Founding, our new Critical Role Lore Explained series. We'll have another video coming out next week on What is the Age of Arcanum, so make sure you go check that out. As always, guys, I hope to see you in the next one. Stay safe out there. Until next time, peace, love, adu.
So much talk around us, we became numb to the yapping. It was like 05, got my license to drive. Picked you up in my pop's car, went for a ride. Couldn't no one tell us nothing. That night was ours.